The USA GP is right around the corner, and it seems like the controversy around the regulations is not going to calm down anytime soon. The FIA has confirmed that it has taken immediate action towards the Austin GP, with an unnamed team seemingly exploiting a ride height trick that could have given them a lot of advantage with the downforce gains. But with this loophole coming right after the mini-DRS effect of the MCL 38, is the sport becoming more and more prone to finding these grey zones? And furthermore, how could this affect the remainder of the season in terms of finding performance with the latest upgrade packages in Austin? Austin will see a lot of teams bringing upgrade packages in a bid to either keep their positions or gain some in both of the championships. But according to the FIA, an unnamed team has tried to exploit a trick in the book when it comes to the downforce generation of the cars, or more precisely, the ride height. This is one of the primary factors that the teams have paid a lot of attention to throughout the 2022 regulations. And now there have been suspicions that a team on the grid has tried to exploit this trick when it comes to the clearance of the front bib. Prior to this weekend, a number of teams have been in talks with the FIA that an unidentified team is adjusting the clearance of the front bib, which many of us know as the T-tray between qualifying and the race. This is definitely a huge boost if proven right, because the trick itself would bring a significant aerodynamic benefit, which would allow the teams to adjust the car to a different ride height demand depending on the event in which they are participating. In qualifying, we know that the car needs a lower amount of fuel due to the one-lap speed requirements of the car, while in the race, due to the longevity of the event, the car is loaded up with fuel and is a lot heavier at the start, losing the weight from the fuel as the race progresses. And obviously the T-tray is a part that cannot be changed under any circumstances in parc ferme, because it technically means that the team will be changing the aero configuration of the car outside of the parc ferme conditions. Still, many teams in the FIA believe that an unnamed team may have found a way to circumvent this rule by allowing the settings to be changed inside the cockpit, potentially by a mechanic during routine pre-race preparations. It does sound a bit easy and silly when you hear it like this, but under a strictly regulated era like the one we're currently racing in, such situations shouldn't really baffle our mind, as we've seen that the FIA's stance on a variety of controversial topics remain, well, controversial. While the governing body is yet to find any conclusive evidence that the trick has been used by a team, the FIA is now changing the procedures on checking front bibs from the US GP onwards. Again, usually when the FIA implements something new pre-race or during the race weekend, it means that they have been given confidence of a potential breach. It's just the fact that they don't want to share it with the rest of the world, so they can spare themselves the drama that comes with it. Whether or not this is the right way to go, we'll leave it to the experts and the technicians that work in the FIA to deal with. What is up to us is to see whether these changes will affect the performance of a certain team in Austin, and whether something suspicious has happened in the past couple of months. The finger was automatically pointed towards McLaren due to their rear and front wing innovations that of course have caused a lot of drama in the sport. In an official statement from the FIA regarding the front bibs of the car, the governing body stated, "The aerodynamic setup of the front wing may be adjusted using the existing parts. No parts may be added, removed or replaced. A competitor may not modify any part of the car. It must be clear from physical inspection that changes cannot be made without the use of tools." The last sentence is what's been added as a new regulation to the Article 40.9 that we just stated, and the FIA's spokesperson has been adamant that such changes are forbidden under the parc ferme rule, which is why the implementation of the latest rule makes us believe that maybe something was truly going on in shady conditions. There have been quite a few occasions where the downforce requirements of the car have made the MCL 38 quite a dominant bit of machinery, such as in Zandvoort and Singapore, where Norris won by a margin over 20 seconds over Verstappen. And this is yet another hint that the upgrades of McLaren are the only ones that are working precisely as they should, without any limitations to the on-ground data whatsoever. When talking about the adjustment in general, a spokesperson from the FIA said, "Any adjustment to the front bib clearance during parc ferme conditions is strictly prohibited limited by the regulations. While we have not received any indication of any team employing such a system, the FIA remains vigilant in our ongoing efforts to enhance the policing of the sport. As part of this, we have implemented procedural adjustments to ensure that the front bib clearance cannot be easily modified. In some cases, this may involve the application of a seal to provide further assurance of compliance. To make matters even more interesting, this is yet another action from the FIA when it comes to a certain controversy around a part of the car, with the latest one being adding cameras to the front wing to monitor the levels of flexing that Red Bull and Ferrari believe the McLaren cars have in excess. While it's visible that the front wing of the MCL 38 does flex a bit more than usual, it's still allowed for the remainder of the season, and more checks will be conducted for 2025, which then again proves that the FIA might not know for sure whether or not they have 20 legal and regular cars driving on the field. And this is exactly why teams like Red Bull and Ferrari have decided to implement very similar solutions with the front wing on their end as well, with Horner stating that anything that is being deemed legal by the FIA, or more precisely failed to be deemed illegal, is a path that his team will follow. The Austin GP will see Red Bull implementing a new front wing and a new floor, which is supposed to bring them back in contention. But when talking about the flexibility of the front wing being a key to Verstappen's defence in the drivers category, Horner said, "We went through a little more recently than a decade ago, I think 3 years ago, but I think what's crucial for any team, as with all these things, is always for clarity. Is something acceptable or is it not? If it's deemed to be acceptable, then obviously that encourages you to pursue similar solutions yourself. So the regulator obviously has all the information. They have all the analysis that they've recently put cameras on so many cars. So I guess they are collecting that data." Fred Vasseur has also talked about this problem and stated that his team was forced to apply certain changes to the 2021 versions of their cars when he was the team principal of Alfa Romeo. As the Frenchman said, "If you remember back in 2021, certainly around Baku, there was a change to the front wing regulation. Even though our wings passed the test, it was exploiting air elasticity. So that is an FIA issue. So we'll leave it and trust in them to deal with it." All of this goes to show that the current problem with the adjustment of the front bibs is something that the FIA has taken care of precisely as they should, without any beatings around the bush or without any further controversy that would have hindered the trust that the fans and the experts have already lost with Ben Saliam. It's not enough that the drivers have voiced their displeasures, but now the media is also on a blast as to how the FIA is not paying enough attention to the general issues of the sport, but focusing on the swearing scandals as if that's the primary thing they need to deal with. Leclerc has also voiced his concerns as to how Ben Saliam should be working on much more important things than grown men using foul language when they're driving with speeds of 300 kilometers per hour between tight walls. But that is now irrelevant given the fact that we will be paying a lot of attention to the team's gains or losses in Austin with the latest change from the FIA in the rulebook. With all this in mind, do you think that a certain team did exploit the front bib stuff from the current rulebook? And if so, do you think that everything points towards McLaren? Let us know in the comments below, and once you do that, have a look at the video that's appearing on your screen right now.